reaction from the opening ceremony and many more. And then Mikel Arteta has signed a new contract with us. Now, we'll take you through all that. Of course, the biggest talking point also is about Cristiano Ronaldo and Manchester United. Eric Ten Hag has responded, and so many more conversation on today's edition of this show. Ekpo Temple is my name. It promises to be a massive finish here this evening on Sports Extraordinary on Atlantic Television Network. Don't go anywhere. Back if you're just joining us, it's Sports Extraordinary, and it's time to take you through the extraordinary happenings in the last 12 hours in sports. Emmanuel Michael joins me this evening as usual, and of course, very elated to bring you all the sporting story. Mike, it's a beautiful evening, and I'm sure you're also very elated to be here.
Truly beautiful evening from this part of the world. Temple, good evening to you and good evening to our viewers out there.
All right, let's get started. Just a few hours ago, we saw the Honorable Minister of Sports, Senator John Owaneno, formally declared the opening of the 8th National Youth Games open in Asaba, Delta State.
Very impressive one for me to behold the scene out there. Very beautiful scene to behold. The cultural display of the Delta State people out there coming out in mass to showcase what they've got in terms of culture. I think it's more like an artistical documentation of idealism that was made realism out there in the opening ceremony. These are things that folklore and their cultural heritage that was hitherto hidden away from the people, but as the opportunity presents itself for the big stage, they came out in mass to demonstrate this artistical documentation of ideas in reality over the past couple of few hours out there in Delta State. We must also commend the Delta State government, because it looks as though they've also put everything in place to ensure that this one become a success and even surpass a previous edition outing. And I think for me, we need to give them kudos for what they've done so far. In terms of security, I saw so many people, so many security outfit out there manning guard in order to ensure that everything is actually under control. And I must commend the organizers from the opening ceremony that we've seen so far. It looks as though we are going to have a massive national youth games out there.
10 days of massive jostling for medals from across various states who are already preparing for this particular one. As of yesterday, it was 26 states. Today, I can tell you that we now have close about 29 and part of the 30. But then we hope to still get more updates from that side. One thing very interesting is that on those states, Saka, who's my friend, said that they are prepared to take on, at least get medals. That they will compete in 10 events, and they will compete highly in those events. And that's good about it now. Now that the program has formally opened, a lot of states will be picking the events that they are good at. But Delta State looks like they're going to compete in almost all the events because they are the host.
And that is why they always have the edge when you talk about the National Youth Game. I think they are always there fighting for the top spot finish out there, fighting for podium finish out there. Delta State, Bayelsa, Lagos State, these are the states that most time they try to fight so hard. Going in juggler against each other to ensure that they continue to showcase their supremacy out there. They are very determined and very dogged, and that is why they had to expand some of the relatively unknown sport out there. They have actually toiled around the state out there in order to exhume some of that sport that is dying and bring it back to limelight, because they know they have an advantage if they can be able to exhume some of these dying sport and bring it back to life again. It could be an advantage for them. So for me, I think Delta State, they have boasted much of the contingents, if you want to talk about sport out there. Their athletes getting to go, speaking from different fora out there, listening to some of the athletes due to take part in this very one. They are beaming with confidence. And I tell you, all is set, and it's going to be fireworks all through.
Fireworks all through, and I can tell you for sure that the sports ministry also will looking out for potential talents in this particular one.
Sure, this should be the main essence. I keep saying it. It's not about state going out there to make a podium finish, but it's about the sport ministry putting their nose on ground to ensure that at least they be able to fish out future talent, and groom them and get them prepared for national service out there. Because in different sporting areas, you talk about tennis, the likes of Haruna Quadri, Funko Shenaike, they will soon leave the big stage. You talk about athletics, the likes of Tobilola Motion, Degoke, name them, they will soon leave the big stage. Talk about basketball, the likes of Amakamura, Ami Okonkwo, and the rest of them, they will still leave the big stage. You talk about boxing, which other big name that comes to your mind? Some of these talented sportmen and women, there will definitely come a time where they will bid the farewell to the game that have brought fame and popularity to them, and also brought honor to the country. And they need this young one to start grooming them up, getting them prepared, getting them ready, putting them in a prime position to be able to take up the battle of leadership, rather, when some of these big name, leave the stage. And this should be the time for them to start scouting for potential talents out there for me. Like I said, it's not about State going out there to make a podium finish, but it's about a different state trying to harness the rich potential history that they have in terms of sport out there. Talk about Rivers State, we have talent in different sporting strata, but harnessing them seems to be the problem. When last did you hear any Rivers man, dominating the continental scene or intercontinental scene when it has to do with athletics, when it has to do with some other sport that is relatively unknown? I think it is only maybe you call it football or basketball that will have River State people doing pretty well. You talk about other sport. Which prominent name that will come to your mind and say, yes, this is a Rivers man, this is a Rivers woman that is doing pretty well? So for me, I think State going out there, their main focus shouldn't just go out there and win more laurels, top the medals log, but it's about developing talent, because that is the way we are going to get it right. If that should be the focus of the Nigerian Ministry of Sport as well, I think it's going to serve us well through, because these are the kind of competition that you use as a scouting process in order to harness and unearth talent out there, which I believe should be the primary focus and motive of the sport ministry. And
of course, it doesn't, it all tells for good, seeing that the National Youth Games is coming at a time when schools are even about to resume. So it's even very timely. At least school resumes next week from, I think, on Monday. And of course, students still have like 2 weeks to go about this particular one. And at the end of the day, we'll get to see how far. And for State who are already preparing their athletes and are already there, I'm sure that preparations will now be on. From tomorrow, we'll start taking through the medal table to see how far they can go. I'm also very sure that we'll get to look at some of the young talent that will be spot on from there, and many more reaction from tomorrow, when we'll bring you more updates from that side. Mike, away from that now, let's look at what is happening in tennis. And of course, Aryna Sabalenka is talking tough. She very elated. More like saying that getting to break the genes of being part of those who have won the Australian Open and also winning, another Grand Slam in the year. And if there's any lady that Iga Swiatek should be afraid of, is Aryna Sabalenka. Very consistent in terms of chasing her. She has held the number 2 spot for a very long time. And yes, when you win a Grand Slam, you win 2,000 points. And so winning 2,000 points ensures that she got 2,000 points earlier won by Iga Swiatek in the French Open, which of course also makes it very tight, because in the next time she was number 1 at some point this year, and now before she lost it back to Iga Swiatek, and it looks like the year ends. So this time around, it's not about going how far. She said it's not about the number of tournaments you play, but about putting your heart and commitment to anyone that you play out, and that's what she has done, and she got to win that particular one.
Definitely, must give it to Aryna Sabalenka. She's done so well, being among the players to also win the Australian Open and also the US Open, which is the Grand Slam of the year. I think she did pretty well for herself out there. She has maintained that number 2 position for a very long time right now, and I think she is the next person in line to actually fight to see if she can be able to dethrone Iga Swiatek from the world number 1. But I tell you, if everything goes to plan, I tell you, Aryna Sabalenka could be that name that we're expecting to be announced as the world number 1 very soon. But then she must also continue to up her ante. She must also continue to maintain the fire in her. She must also continue to improve in different games out there, even as she builds to take some rest away from the game for a few maybe weeks before bouncing back out there. So I think she's in a prime position to contend for the world number 1 position against Iga Swiatek, because she's done pretty well so far for herself this season, I tell you.
Done pretty well so far for herself, and of course we get to see in the coming days many more news popping from that side, and not just forgetting that a lot of reaction. But let's move away from that and let's talk some football matters, and we'll start from the home scene. We are a lot of preparation. Looks like the NFF they're really considering happenings in Borno, where the flood has ravaged some areas, so some games have been moved, and a lot of persons are already reacting to that particular one. But for me, I look at it like, okay, it's a natural disaster. I don't think we should blame the Nigerian Premier Football League board for making those adjustments in Match Day 2.
Yeah, for me, I think it's safety purpose. Safety first, they will tell you. And for me, they needed that very one. We saw the heavy downpour out there, how the storm have ravaged some areas out there. And it was very, very unprofessional to risk the life of the supporters, even the, you know, the actors, talking about the footballers and their coaching career as well, just because you want to fulfill a mandate of playing the Nigerian Premier Football League, you go out there and risk your life. So there is need for adequate security measures, safety process first before you talk about any other thing. So there is need for them to, you know, rearrange or shift that very one in order to ensure that there is no loss of life or damages to properties out there. I think very wise of the NPFL board as well.
Very wise of the NPFL board, and I can tell you that for Rivers United now, that game they're supposed to play on Sunday will now be played on Saturday against Heartland, and so we'll get to see how far that particular one is. And for those of you who do not know, the fixtures for this season is still around the mic expectation for March 2. The other person will say that cracker, but then I don't know how Enugu Rangers will blend because they have a match to play too in the CAF Champions League preliminaries.
I think they will also sort themselves out because, you know, very soon they will be playing. I think tomorrow, on Friday, they will be playing their game, if I'm not mistaken. And for me, I think it will be very, very, you know, timely, because you can't play on Friday and also go ahead to play on Saturday or possibly Sunday as well. So the MPFL board, I think they will also find a way to also check their calendar to postpone their match, maybe more like give them some days after their continental game before they see how to be able to fix that one, so that it can actually also fit them, you know, because they need to take a look at the, you know, timing of the continental engagement and also their league game engagement as well, in order for them to balance the book as well. So there's need for them to look into it, talking about the NPFL board, to look into the fixtures of Enugu Rangers and see how they can be able to delineate it from their continental duty with that of NPFL games.
It is sports extraordinary here, and of course we're looking at some of the happenings from the Nigeria Premier Football League, and a lot is still happening from that corner. So we'll take a look at possibly what is happening. Ikorodu United, yes, we are bashed at 3-0 by Kano Pillars, but that's not it. If you look at the media activities of Ikorodu United, you know, looks like they're a team to watch out for in terms of media hype, and that's the level that we are going, Mike.
We saw a little bit of that in the last season, where we saw Sporting Lagos also doing pretty well in terms of managing their social media handles pretty well. And of course, you know, now that they've also monetized, Nigeria is one of the countries that have gained monetization because of some social media as activities out there. And it's a huge money. You know, when you are very active and you meet up with the criteria and requirement of some of these social media, you know, pages, you get to earn the cool money, dollars for yourself out there. So for me, Ikorodu United, it seems to be taking the footstep of, you know, Sporting Lagos in last season in terms of media hype, in terms of putting up, you know, very timely stories out there to keep their fans abreast with the latest happenings of the club. And I tell you, it's a nice one, which other clubs you also emulate, because it's just like what is happening in a very professional and more developed leagues. Everything, every sensitive story that has to do with the runnings of the club, you see it first on your social media handle out there. And as a fan, you are updated every second, you know, with the situation of the clubs that you are finding out there, which makes the fans even you know, endeared to such a club side, because they feel being carried along, because they get to know of the activities, the day-to-day runnings of the club, the most or the vital information that has regard to do with the club. It's open there for them to go and access it, which for me, I think it attracts more fans and also keep on you know, the engagement, and it cut across a wider spectrum, because you get to have fans from different walks of life, both far and near, because you can't also undermine the powers or the influence of social media in this jet age. So for me, Ikorodu United is a right step in the right direction for me.
The right step in the right direction, and I tell you for sure that a lot of happenings and many more to come your way. But Michael, let's move away from that now. Let's talk about you know, what is happening in the national team. Tomorrow morning, it will be another beautiful time where our junior cadet team will take on, you know, their counterparts from Japan and it promises to be a very strong clash because we saw how they played from the group stages down to the round of 16. The Falconets will be taking on the Japanese in a clash that will trigger their quest to win this year's championship in Bogota. So Mike, Chris Danjuma knows what is at stake here.
Yes, truly, he knows what is at stake, having passed through the group stage and get to the round of 16, which is going to be a make or a man match at this point in time. So all the teams are very ready for what is to come. But you talk about the Falconets. I think for me, they have experience in this competition. Don't also forget they are two-time runner-up. In 2010, they were in the final, lost to either Germany. In 2014 as well, they made it to the final and lost it as well. This is 2024. They hope to make this one count this time around, but then they must first pass the hurdles of the Nadeshimo of Japan before they can actually see what comes up in that way. But I tell you, it's going to be a mouth-watering encounter. I talk about the coach himself, Christopher Danjuma. I think his tactical prowess or tactical guru will be put to line, will be put to test early morning Friday, talking about 2 a.m. to be precise. That match will come alive. The Japanese, they are not a bad side at all. They play very tricky, very fast kind of football. We need to be very wary of the Japanese because they're very, very fast and very technical as well on the ball. We must be ready for whatever that is to come our way. I listened to Ibuke, one of the midfielders, talking less than 24 hours ago. She said that they are very ready, and she's brimming with confidence, saying that the team as well and her teammate is also ready for this one, getting to go. Let's take her by her word, hoping that the Nigerian under 20 women, talking about the Falconet, is going to deliver the goods that will see us through over Japan come tomorrow.
All right, we're going to a short break now. When we come back, we'll talk more of club football here this evening on Sports Extraordinary on Atlantic Television Network. Don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
that break, if it does join us, is still Sports Extraordinary on Atlantic Television Network. Just breaking this time around, we just hear that Esther Chijoke had won 3 gold medals in bodyweight 45. She won in the bodyweight 45 kg, 71 kg, and that's very interesting. I'm trying to get her the state of participation, but Benue State have also won 3 silver in weightlifting event, Mike.
Yeah, I think it's a good one for Benue State, but then, like we say in our local parlance here, no be who first go police.
Yeah, they got the win case.
Yeah. It's not about winning 3 medals in the first days of the competition. The question should be, can they be able to sustain this momentum going forward? And they'll be able to continue fighting from all fronts in order to ensure they, make a podium finish, in order to ensure they contend for a top highest prize, which is amassing more gold medals before the end of the competition. So for me, as much as it is good for them to start on a good footing, but then they should also maintain the momentum, because don't forget, the host country, they are not sleeping. They will also want to also make a very strong statement. And we'll have other states, such as Lagos State, that have always been making a very strong statement in terms of national youth game, or even in terms of the National Sport Festival. They are always very there. So I think it's a great one for Benue State, but they must keep the fire burning.
Keep the fire burning, and the Mike, yes, as it stands now, all the coaches in Africa are live in Abidjan. We are the African Summit for Coaches is ongoing. And some of the coaches that are there, I mean, surprisingly, we will get to meet Ganatroy again there. And then the most talked about is Joseph Pissarro, also being part of the summit. And the other person are saying that what a love for Africa, yeah, living in Europe and being part of the summit. And I think this is lovely. We have coaches have, annual time to really, blend together. I think it's very nice from CAF.
Very nice one. I think for me it's a nice idea from CAF, bringing in top coaches from across the globe as well to be part and parcel of this very showpiece. I think cross-pollination of ideas could be very key at this point, because no one knows it all and no man is an island of knowledge. There are some areas where you are not good at, that other person are also good. They'll bring their own input as well, exchange opinion and ideas, and that is how you get to prove, that is how you get to learn rather, and that is how you get to add more, knowledge to what you've known already, because the moment you stop learning, and that is where a man starts dying gradually. So learning is a continuous process. There is no amount of learning that could be too much for a man, and you need the expertise from other people as well to also add to what you know, and that gives you an edge over others. So for me, I think it's a great idea from CAF, bringing people all over the world, from different, strata in terms of the coaching ability to bring their wealth of experience and let them share ideas and chart a way forward for the continent of Africa.
No fewer than 40 coaches are in Abidjan in preparation for the CAF coaches symposium in Abidjan. And I tell you, I'll get to see how they cross-fertilize and cross-pollinate ideas together. But let's talk football now. Just this afternoon, Arsenal Football Club have formally agreed a new contract with Mikel Arteta, and it elapsed from now to 2027, Mike.
Joyous news, you may want to say, out there for the Gunners faithful. Mikel Arteta, yeah, I think it's a good one for him, because, coming in 2019 to take up, the position of his former Spaniard man, talking about Unai Emery, I think for Mikel Arteta, he's done pretty well for himself out there. He brought Arsenal back into reckoning in terms of the Champions League, where they were away for 6 good years. Arsenal Football Club, as big as they are, they failed to qualify for the Champions League. 6 good seasons, not until Mikel Arteta came in and turned that around for them, and also won FA Cup, won the Community Shield as well. I think the only thing remaining for Mikel Arteta is for him to help or propel Arsenal to contend for the league this season. I will not ask for Champions League, because that would be too much for them as it is right now. Having come behind Manchester City twice, I think this should be the prime time for them to get their acts right. Anything short of winning the EPL this season, I think it would be a failure on the side of Mikel Arteta and Arsenal, having come close twice against Manchester City. So I believe giving him a 3-year contract that will see him steady the ship of Arsenal till 2027 is a good one for the Arsenal Football Club, and it's a good one for the development of the players as well. It's a good one for the management as well, to have a reliable hand that is steady with the club to also continue to fight and see if they can be able to break that jinx of 2023 so 2003 to 2004, where they last won the English Premier League. So for me, I believe it's a nice one. 3-year contract for Mikel Arteta, a good one, and it's a big news for Arsenal fans out there.
Big news. So let's see how often Arsenal fans will react. Of course, tomorrow we'll come with some of those reactions, and let's see where the ticket. The expectations are high now that he has signed another. He's been given another 3-year contract, you know, to help boost the club and the achievement. So let's see how far Arsenal can go. And a lot of people will think that about winning the English Premier League. Okay, if win other trophies, be consistent in winning other trophies, the League Cup, the FA Cup. It's always very difficult for them to even win those ones, because all attention is placed, the premium is on the English Premier League, and that's why other clubs elude them. And just recently we heard about Martin Odegaard, his injury. That means he will be out for a couple of time, which is another disadvantage. You don't have an outright striker, so all these indices put together, you think that Arsenal can really challenge Anna Slot, who just came in with Liverpool, and also some of the big names in the club football in the English Premier League?
I think it's going to be a very Herculean task for Mikel Arteta to surmount the challenges of trying to face with the new realities on ground, which is that one of their key men, who always steady the ship in the middle of the park, talking about the Norwegian Martin Odegaard, being out 3 weeks injured. And Calafiori, their new signing, also got injured for his national team side, talking about Italy. Declan Rice, who is out suspended because of that red card that he received in their last game. And a couple of other, French players that is on the injury list. And they'll be coming up against Tottenham this weekend, which is another very big clash against Angel Postecoglou side that is very fired up this time around to make a very strong statement. Coming up against a depleted Arsenal squad, you may want to say, it's going to be a very, very difficult one for Arsenal. Then again, we talked about Anna Slot, who came in, and from the games he's played so far, there's no doubt that it has continued from where Jurgen Klopp stopped on trying to take this team far this time around. Don't forget that Liverpool were the front runner to vie for the title last season. Not even Arsenal. Liverpool had to top the league for number of weeks in the English Premier League. At some point, we thought it's going to be a fight between Liverpool and Manchester City, but all of a sudden, we saw how Liverpool crashed from the race, and Arsenal came in to give Manchester City a chase for the title, which eventually eluded them, especially on the last day, second to the last day of the game, where they actually fell like a pack of cards at their home ground against Aston Villa. It was a hammer, a dagger that was stabbed in the heart of Arsenal when they lost against Aston Villa, because that should have been their only remedy of laying hand on the EPL, but then it actually eluded. So it's a big worry for Arsenal. Let's hope that Mikel Arteta can be able to turn these things around, and this is where you get to know a good manager. When you are short of options in some key areas, can you be able to work the team and get something out of nothing? This is where a coach comes in, and that is why you must trust coaches like Pep Guardiola, or even the Don, talking about Carlo Ancelotti himself, because they will find a way in order for that loopholes, to cover that loopholes, for the momentarily period before they get back their key man. So we wait to see if, as Mikel Arteta has getting to that apex of his coaching finesse, where he can be able to discover some magical touches that can be able to seal the loopholes for Arsenal.
Let's get to see how far Mikel Arteta will move with some of the injury concerns around his team. And of course, the English Premier League resumes this coming weekend. Mike, away from that, let's talk about one man who, of course, has formally come out open. It's not the first time he's doing that. Cristiano Ronaldo coming out to criticize Eric Ten Hag and, of course, the Manchester United setup. But I think he was very direct. We all know the route between the both of them before he left for Saudi Arabia. And he says that Manchester United must rebuild everything. Because he said is that, he has played for the club. He has achieved all for his club. So if there's a club he loves so much, it's Manchester United. But yet, he will not fail to criticize the club when they're doing badly. And of course, he pointed at the coach, even if he was very he expresses himself professionally. And in retaliation, we saw what Erik ten Hag has come out to say that he should focus more in his club side in Saudi Arabia than what is happening in the English Premier League. But let's get your say on what you make of the issue between Ronaldo and Erik ten Hag.
I think for me it's still about unfinished business, unfinished beef, and acrimony that these two people have been engroused with. So have Cristiano Ronaldo left acrimoniously at the Old Trafford at Manchester United in his second return to the club. How he was frozen out of the team caused of imbalance and in not having a common ground to align with the coach, talking about Erik ten Hag and his philosophy out there. And that is how Cristiano Ronaldo left an unhappy man because of the little distraction that he had with the coach out there. And for a player that is a legend of a club like Manchester United, of course, when things are not going right, whether he had an individual issues with the coach or not, it makes no meaning. The issue is that we must tell the United fans and the board the truth about the stark reality that is staring everybody on the face, because it is evidently clear, in fact it is audible to the deaf and visible to the blind, that Manchester United just now is no longer that Manchester United we know.
I saw the list of the players enrolled for the UEFA Cup, and I asked myself, it's difficult to even know the players. I asked myself, are these the players that will now prosecute some of these games? The Manchester United, from the goalkeepers down to the forward, it's a lot has really changed. And so when he come out to say, a lot of people misunderstood legends. When legends come out to criticize their club, they feel like, okay, because their interest is not well carried. A few weeks ago, we talked about Mikel Obi, talking about Chelsea. They are stakeholders in the club. It doesn't matter how far, because they have played all their lives, they're giving all their best, and it's difficult. It's just like this man, the former coach of the side, Ferguson, coming out to express his concern. I think it's about the bitterness. Even if he has some route, Manchester United is always going to be Cristiano Ronaldo's mindset. But like you said, it looks like if things go well, I don't think he will have any need to talk about the club. But because things aren't going well, so the man will always have a say in that club. Honestly,
I think he's very, very right. If you take a look at the way Manchester United is going, in fact, they had one of their worst season last season.
And it looks like they continue again.
Yes, where they finished 8th position. That is the worst in the record of Manchester. In fact, in the Champions League, they created another worst record as well, conceding 16 goals within the space of 5. Even a group that contained Galatasaray, they could not even progress through. Looking at this, and the way they have also started the season, on a very dismal note. So for me, it behoves on the man in charge to take correction. Take the message, forget about the messenger. That is just the truth.
True.
Is this thing that Cristiano Ronaldo is saying, are they tangible? Are they justified? And of course, yes, if you take a look at the position of Manchester United, their fans are grumbling everywhere. Take a look at the stadium itself. It's a shame, and for me, the man should just take the word and forget about the messenger. It's more like you can't throw away the baby with the bathing water. You must be able to fish out that which to be the truth, and see how to correct it, and not coming up with a rejoinder to counter the reality which the young man made a claim to.
Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was at the helm of affairs at some point as an interim basis. But it looks like if the board of Manchester United are in backing of Erik ten Hag, but I think that if the result aren't coming, there's nothing stopping you to make changes, especially if you want to achieve something good. But the thing is, if they believe that the man still have a lot to do with the side, then maybe the board might just be right for obvious reasons.
As it is, I tell you, there were different clamor from different quarters shortly after the conclusion of the 2023/2024 season out there. But the board had to sit back, have a board meeting where they were able to assess and evaluate the performance of the coach, talking about Erik ten Hag. At some point, Erik ten Hag was, on limbo, whether or not he's going to be fired or not. But thank God they concluded that decision after a painstaking, a check through what he has done over the last season, and they were able to give him a pass mark to continue. But hoping that things will change, even when he has dipped hand into the pocket to get some players in order to, fortify the team. Yet the team still look ordinary. Manchester United, the way they play these days, I mean, they just look ordinary. Any mid-table team can just come and overrun them. In a theater of dream that seems to be a theater of dream, it is no longer a theater of dream. It is now a theater of nightmare for me. So I think with all this negative result and with everything that is happening at Manchester United, Cristiano Ronaldo, as ex-player of Manchester United and as a legend of the club, have the rights to also air out his opinion when he feels that things are not going wrong. And for the board, I think there's nothing stopping them. If by mid-table of the season they discover that there is nothing that is changing at all, I mean, they can still, let the man go and bring in somebody that can be able to steady the ship.
And of course, maybe early days to say, but let's get to see how the team pans out. And a few games have been played already. The weekend day is very close. Tomorrow, some of the club will be having their press conferences, and so we'll get to see what the expectation for the weekend will be like. But somebody will tell you that it looks like Everton have not, since the league started, they've not been in fine showcase. We've seen Dijk, Sean Dijk is really pushing his side, but somehow it looks, I don't know whether the problem, of course, very clearly, the problem should not be Sean Dijk, because Sean Dijk has really done his best to ensure that he elevates the Everton side, but it looks like until the takeover is concluded, Everton will continue to grumble in the relegation waters. Yeah,
it seems likely. As it is right now, we saw how Sean Dijk was able to at least keep them afloat of the EPL last season, even despite the fact that some points were deducted away from Everton. But it seems as though that serves as extra motivation for them. That is where you get to see Sean Dijk attending every match, to sit on the stands, to watch different opponents, just to be able to, find a tactical, incentive that will suit him against the opponent that you're going to fight, and did that magically and miraculously. They were able to, escape a relegation last season. So coming to this season, they continue to struggle. But I think for me, it is early days to call, because we know what Everton brings to the table any day, anytime. They are a mid-table team, no doubt, and they never leave that mid-table region. It's just that last season was worst among some of their history. But I tell you, nothing has spoiled here. Just 3 games down the line, and the league is just started. They still have about 34 or 35 games to go as it is. Let's hope that they can be able to churn out a good result, so that at least they make themselves stable on the league.
Before we talk about, probably our last story on today's edition of the show, we saw what Victor Osimhen did with Galatasaray before he came for the national duties, and of course, what a way of showcasing his, strength and sending back message that, okay, yes, I'm back home. I scored a goal, and we saw how he was also playing in the second half of the game in Kigali. And then going back there, I'm sure that he will be preparing for a new life now in Galatasaray.
True, he will be preparing for a new life in Galatasaray right now. Thank God the fans is already loving Victor Osimhen out there. Even when he went back out after the international break, you saw how the fans heralded his name. He was given a heroic welcome. And for me, I think it behoves on Victor Osimhen to do the needful. He has promised the fan that if it is for goal, he's going to bang in the goal, because of course he wants to also sell his market. Don't forget that he's there on a temporary basis, and he wants to use that medium to showcase his talent.
He has 3 months to sell himself, so that he can be, if he can be pushed out from the club in January transfer window, which will be very good for him.
Exactly.
But so let's get to see how far that goes. And the language barrier, a lot of person don't get to talk about it often. But how far will he cope with the language issues?
I think he will find a partner there. His former teammate at Napoli, Dries Mertens, who is also there. I mean, these are players that he communicated with. Even the former Nigerian international as well, who also played for Galatasaray. He also put call across to them before going to Galatasaray. So I think with this, they can be able to help him. And he's already taking some classes as well to get acquainted with the Turkish language out there.
Of course, a lot of football, showcase this weekend of football majorly. And let's get to see how far the reunion. But just this afternoon, Jose Mourinho, one man who will also be playing in the Turkish league, has also come out to express that the pattern of, you get to know about a big club that's signing and how far they're going, and Real Madrid to him will continue to be the best club in the world. Yeah,
for Jose Mourinho, it's one man that every bit of his word makes a headline, and he makes money out there. That is why sometimes, when pressmen came to him for an interview, he tell them, boy, you're going to pay me.
Yeah, I'm not talking because... he knows. He's well said controversy, and he sells.
He sells, and for Jose Mourinho, you can't just take away those things from him.
I remember, was it the World Cup when he was invited to... as a presenter? He came before he got a job with Fenerbahce. He was invited to come and be part of the
match analysis.
And he told that he said it in Obi-Wan podcast that man, he's coming for the money. He's going to enjoy his time. But then this, of course, you know him. He's a special one. He's the only one. And when he makes a comment it may be very controversial, but he sticks to it so strongly.
True, and he has a way of trying blending words together that sometimes they could be very contradictory. But if you take a look at it critically, it always makes some sense.
But when you look at what he said about Real Madrid, he talked about how they got the young lad, what is it, Brazilian?
Hendrik.
Vinicius Junior. He talked about how they got Rodrigo, and these players from that age, they have grown up to this level now. They got Adagula. They talked about how what is his name now? The Bellingham came into the side, grooming this young lad, becoming world stars. And for you to be a big player, for you to be, a big club, you must have players that are quality to him. The quality of Real Madrid is in the players that they have. And Hendrik joining them again from this young age. So for him, it looks like, man, if you want to talk about a team that is typically a big side, it's the quality that they have. And I asked, yes, even if they are young side, will you not say that Real Madrid is a quality setup with this young, inexperienced, some that we have seen, and although blend of experience too?
I tell you, they are quality side any day, anytime. Real Madrid, you can't take that away from them. They are quality side, talking about the young blend of players that they have right now. Don't forget, it's a blend of youthfulness and that of experience as well. Rudiger is there to offer those experience. Luka Modric is there to offer those experience. Thibaut Courtois is out there. Militao, Cavallal, these are experienced players that are there also to help these younger ones to also, grow. So for me, I think Real Madrid, they are truly, a club that has history. And of course, you can't take away what they have brought to the table. Real Madrid, it is a home, it is a ground that every great footballer want to play for.
But somehow, Barca aren't giving them a breathing space this time around. Of course, the Clasico will be different, but it will boil down to the kind of games you're able to win against your opponents.
True.
And I still think that it will be a two-horse race this time.
Yeah, but I truly want to say no. Atletico Madrid, they made a very good signing as well. In fact, you take a look at their first 11. Their first and second 11, they are very massive as it is right now, I tell you. So we can't rule out...
The news of Diego leaving his side, Diego Simeone.
I think that news has not been authenticated. I had to source for a verifiable site, Atletico Madrid site, to actually see if that story is true, and I have not seen anything. So I think it's just a rumor flying over the air.
Many thanks to you, Mike, for today's edition of the show. Of course, tomorrow we'll be back again for more interesting show. Here, Mike.
It's always a pleasure doing this with you.
Ekpo Temple is my name, and let's do this again tomorrow, 7 a.m. to 8. We'll be back for Sports Talk, and then evening, 6 to 7. 6 to 7 will be time for Sports Extraordinary on Atlantic Television Network. Have a lovely evening. Bye-bye.